Hello, I'm Zhang. Today I'll present our work titled Facial Recognition, Understanding Privacy Concerns and Attitudes Across Increasingly Diverse Deployment Scenarios. I'll have to keep things brief in this 5-minute presentation. Please find more details about this work in our SOUPS paper. Facial recognition technology has already permeated into our daily digital lives. It unlocks phones, tags people on social media, and adds filters to our Zoom calls. It also begins to creep into the physical world, for example at airports, amusement parks, and stores. In this presentation and our paper, we take a broad definition of facial recognition, which includes identification, demographics detection, emotion recognition, and scene detection. The rapid growth of facial recognition technology across ever more diverse contexts calls for a better understanding of how people feel about these deployments. We are interested in understanding what are people's concerns and attitudes about facial recognition. Specifically, what are their privacy concerns? We first did an extensive survey of news articles about real-world deployments of facial recognition and identified 15 major use cases and scenarios to be included in our study. Those scenarios are mainly composed of 4 broad categories, including security, commerce, identification, authentication, and more advanced use cases that involve predictions. Because context has been shown to have an important effect on people's behavior as well as privacy attitudes, instead of using static online surveys, we opt to conduct an experience sampling study. I'll briefly explain the study protocol. Participants installed the study app on their own Android devices. They were instructed to go about their regular daily activities, and the app sent them push notifications, prompting them to complete a short survey based on their current locations. They also got an email in the evening to complete a daily summary to provide additional responses to complement their in-situ answers. This process will happen for 10 days. Participants finished the study with a post-survey. We also interviewed 10 of them afterwards. We collected a rich qualitative data set composed of detailed responses from 123 participants. We applied content analysis and inductive coding on the approximate 3,800 text responses and the 10 interview transcripts. 2 coders met regularly to discuss and resolve all coding discrepancies. Moving on to the results, we identified 3 main themes of concerns participants had towards facial recognition. To begin with, participants were concerned about anonymous demographics detection for advertising. 9% of participants expressed reservation about this type of technology as they saw it as a form of profiling, either based on race, age, gender, and religion. Such practices could potentially induce oversimplification, perpetuate existing stereotypes, and reduce individualities. Please feel free to pause the video to read the quotes. Secondly, participants were worried about incorrect detection and interpretation. A third of participants were worried about the technology not accurate enough and could make mistakes. Some participants also argued that seemingly suspicious behavior when viewed out of context can be misinterpreted by those systems. Thirdly, participants were concerned about racial and other biases introduced by facial recognition. 1/10 of our participants reported being concerned about the potential bias in the systems. Many were worried that racial bias in these algorithms could exacerbate the exchange bias and infringe upon the rights of those impacted. Privacy is repeatedly brought up as a key concern by our study participants. Around 70% voiced privacy concerns during the study. We summarized 4 major themes around perceived privacy risks of facial recognition in light of concepts from established privacy frameworks. The first is violation of solitude. Facial recognition makes the feeling of surveillance prevail. Many regarded some deployment scenarios as unwarranted and prying. The second is unwanted exposure and violation of anonymity. Participants stressed the importance of anonymity and scrutinized how facial recognition enabled the identification of normal people in plain view, as well as potentially revealing sensitive information like emotions. The third theme is non-consensual and insecure disclosure. This refers in part to data collection without data subject's knowledge or consent. Many respondents questioned whether companies would retain data for intended use only. Also, participants showed fear of data leakage and abuse because it is almost impractical to relinquish biometric data when compromised. The data security for facial recognition The data security for facial recognition is ever more pressing. The last theme is inaccurate dissemination and the violation of reserve. Participants will worry about the dissemination of inaccurate or misleading information as a result of the inaccuracies of the systems. Participants were also concerned about decisional influence, specifically unwarranted influence on their purchasing autonomy by private corporations with the help of facial recognition technology. This concludes my presentation. Please check out our SOUPS paper and a sister publication on PASS this year that focuses on the quantitative results of the study. Thank you for your attention.